Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Club Rats podcast. We wanted to talk about the NFL Combine and some of the current activities and news of the NFL. My name is John.
I'm Jesiah.
Billy,
Fernando.
Our special guest.
Ross.
So first thing, we obviously we got done with the NFL Combine. We brought our special guest in here. He watches the Combine religiously. We kind of wanted to get some of the information on who we thought are the top players. We want to talk about specifically some of our teams and what they need to improve on, what they need to draft. But first thing, Ross, what did you think of the combine? Who stood out as a top player? Give us your analysis of what you thought of the draft.
Well, and I said this the last time I was on the show. This is not going to go down as one of the greatest drafts of all time. But if you're in the market for running backs, defensive line, both interior, the edge, interior offensive linemen, tight ends, and there's some corners, there's going to be starters out of this draft. And the teams that are going to make out are the teams that are picking from about 15 to 50 because you're going to have all the guys in that, they all got the same grade. And so you could take a guy at 50 that you would have normally, you had to take him at 15.
Could
Now
be
he's
better.
sitting there.
Could be better than the number one pick.
Yeah, well, I never go that far, but
But it can happen.
The
It can happen,
possibility exists in this draft. It's not a quarterback heavy draft. You look at the grades on Cam Ward in a normal draft should go somewhere between 20 and 32. Shadir Sanders is a second or third round pick. Jackson Dart, late second round, onto the third, fourth, fifth round.
Who do you think, besides position, who do you think is the best player in terms of the number one pick?
Well, there are four players in contention with Tennessee for the number one pick. The two quarterbacks, Ward and Sanders. Abdul Carter, the pass rush kid from Penn State. And, of course, as always seems to happen with these guys, he's got the shoulder injury that he's not completely over. And now he has a stress fracture.
Did he even work out at the combine?
No, but he is scheduled to work out at Penn State's pro day. He can put a lot of minds to rest if he has a big workout.
What's his size?
Well. What?
What's his height, weight?
6'3", 250. He's a little undersized for the position, but he's got
He's only 6'2"?
Yeah, 6'3", maybe.
That's not good.
Again, he didn't do anything at the combine. Yeah. None of the top prospects, none of the quarterbacks. If a guy is a first-round pick, guaranteed, most of them didn't work out. There were a few guys that did, and they actually helped themselves for the most part. And then, of course, the other kid is the corner receiver, Hunter from Colorado.
He's a great football player. It's hard to.
Good football player. I've said this before about the kid, and NFL is looking at him as a corner.
He's a nickel corner, slot receiver.
Well, but his true value will be if he can play a number one corner or number two corner.
But can he play number one corner?
That's the question. Now, a lot of people are saying they think he can. They think he's going to be really
good. What's his height?
About 6'1", 180.
He didn't run, right?
No, he did nothing at the combine. He's come out and said he wants to continue to play both ways. The way NFL people look at that is you look at him as a corner, and then you come up with packages to use him on offense. My take on that kid, and this is something
I like him best at slot receiver.
That may be his.
He was
best
great.
Position.
I mean, I thought he was effective.
One of the things that you have to look at when this is where the Cam Ward trouble comes from, and the Shadir Sanders, the conferences they play in, who they do it against. True. Ward had a lot of great games, a lot of great comebacks. That's the biggest thing about him. He leads those fourth quarter.
And let's name Ward played in the ACC.
Didn't have a good
Sanders is in the Big 12.
You would agree that they're not on the same level as the SEC.
The SEC is still the best conference. The Big Ten has some top-heavy teams there. You don't have a lot of tape on Cam Ward going up. Where he's not playing Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Alabama, even a team like Notre Dame, Georgia, Tennessee. You don't get the tape on that. And the Sanders kid is worse because that Big 12, there just isn't, like I say, there's a tape. I urge everybody to look at it. And I was a guy, I think a year ago, when I first saw Sanders play, I had him going possibly number one.
I do think Sanders.
Put in the BYU bowl game tape of Shadir Sanders And I have a real hard problem even taking him in the first round. But
do you think Sanders is a bit of a creation?
No. He played against weak competition.
Okay.
The kid is good from the pocket. He has enough arm. He does not have a big arm. He is a small man. Like I said, you put in
Sanders is small?
6'1", maybe. Well, John Ross.
I thought he was taller.
Patrick Mahomes is 6'3", 230, and he looks like a Smurf out there when you watch the game.
He is a Smurf.
In the NFL, he is. But if he was in this room, he's 3 inches. Well, he's 3 inches taller than me. I'm the only one in here that weighs what he weighs.
I'm close.
So you got to look at that with Sanders. But the kid is good from the pocket, which you're going to see with Ward, Sanders, and I'll even throw Jackson Dart out there, and I'm not that big on him either. He's another short guy. What teams do they go to? See, this is the thing you got to – if Tennessee takes Cam Ward, that's the Tennessee Titans there. They don't have anybody.
Yeah,
Ward's going to have to carry the whole thing.
Yeah,
you put Sanders in Cleveland. You put him with the Giants. Let's say he does get to the Raiders. What do these teams have?
Do you think
Sanders,
Ward carried in Miami?
What?
Do you think Ward carried in Miami and at Washington State years prior?
Yeah, but it's Washington State and it's Miami. Who'd you play? You know where Cam Ward would have went in the draft? You know where Cam Ward would have went in the draft? Did he come out after Washington State, which he almost did?
Probably wouldn't have
seventh round draft.
Draftable, baby.
A preferred free agent. In 1 year, playing against who he played.
I do think Sanders, though, is kind of like a Geno Smith type of player.
I compare him to Kirk Cousins. That's who I compare Sanders. Geno Smith.
They're average starting. The Raiders just got Geno Smith.
It's a huge upgrade for the Raiders to get Geno Smith.
But I think Sanders.
I think the Raiders could go 500.
But Sanders,
maybe even a little above.
I think Sanders is a Geno Smith type quarterback.
Sanders.
He's younger.
Geno's not going to win you the Super Bowl, though.
No.
Yeah, but when you take a guy in the first round, can the guy win you the Super Bowl?
Where did Geno Smith get drafted?
Second round.
So there you go.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and Kirk Cousins with a fourth round pick.
Yeah.
See, this I bring that. You see, people, you forget this stuff. You don't know what it is. They overrate these players. I would be much higher on Ward and Sanders if they played in the SEC. Ward, again, has moments where he comes back in games. He put up a lot of points. The other thing about Ward you want to be careful about, they got a kid at slot named Restrepo, a slot receiver, and they got a tight end. Now, Sanders didn't have that much in Colorado. He only had Travis Hunter, and he didn't have a lot around him. And he also didn't have an offensive line. So, see, on that perspective, I actually have Sanders over Cam Ward. But we throw out Cousins. We throw out Geno Smith for Shadir Sanders. Cam Ward, I see a lot of Jameis Winston in it. He's the same sort of guy. You try pulling that stuff that he's pulling in college and the NFL, and they're going to be picks, and they're going to be pick sixes going back the other way. Now,
that's honestly how I felt about Caleb Williams. Because he scrambles, he holds the ball way too long. So that's how I felt about him.
But the one thing about Caleb Williams, though, and this kind of surprised me, and I think the kid did take to coaching, never did turn the ball over this year.
Yeah,
he had the record for a rookie for not throwing pitch. This is why I'm not ready to turn my back on Caleb Williams. I think he's still salvageable.
Yeah.
Now it's going to have to happen this year.
He's got to
get better. He's got to get rid of the ball quicker.
Yeah.
He took the most sacks.
Let me say this. Let me say this. Ben Johnson, he's been talking a lot lately.
Yeah, I know.
And if I was him, I just don't think that's a smart play.
No, never.
I don't understand that.
Talkers.
First of all,
we'll find out.
First of all, the Lions are probably never going to win the Super Bowl, but to go at Dan Campbell that way is probably not.
Well, not just Campbell.
The smartest
Jared
way.
Goff specifically.
Yeah, I mean, and the Lions.
You got to play golf.
And the Lions have just won the division 2 years in a row. I don't know. I don't know if I would go about it that way if I was Ben Johnson.
With these coaching hires, this is a total separate topic. People look at what Ben Johnson did with the Lions, and what I say to people is this: that's the Lions. We had an offensive line. We got backs. We got receivers. You got a head coach. What are the Bears?
All right, let's get back on the draft.
Yeah,
so,
I wanted to ask you something about that because you did say where your conference matters. So, I mean, Jackson Dart putting up arguably the biggest numbers.
No, but it is
the SEC.
Okay, let me get to Dart. The issues with him then, and this has shocked me as I've looked at the tape. A kid by the name of Vince Young from Texas.
Yeah.
It's the same, and Clemson runs the same thing too, which is why Trevor Lawrence has struggled so much in the NFL. He wasn't prepared, and we've seen the problems with Deshaun Watson outside of when he worked with Bill O'Brien. Dart is coming from the same
What's Dart's
thing.
size?
about 5'11", 6 feet tall. No, he's
He's only
undersized.
6 feet tall.
They 6'1", 6'2".
How tall was Ward?
Stocky kid.
Ward's
Cam Ward's 6'2". Cam
oh.
Ward, that was something else.
What's he?
I was talking
Small
about.
hands, though, right?
What?
Small hands.
But he is at least
Ward-
6'2", though.
No, they're not. He does not have. But I don't pay as much
You don't do
attention to
that?
the hand
That's
size.
kind of a
Ward has not had a ball security
no
issue.
He's not like he fumbled the ball.
Fernando and I were talking about the Raiders taking Genty to back out of.
Oh,
He has ball security issues, and one of the reasons is, and all ball security issues. It all starts up here. If you think about it, you won't fumble. Walter Payton never fumbled. I remember asking my father once because he concentrated. Jim Brown never fumbled. Larry Zonka and the Dolphins, they don't fumble and so Genty, that can be coached.
How many times has
But it
Saquon
is-
Barkley fumbled this year?
Not
many.
No.
I don't think he fumbled the ball. too
Barkley
many
had a
times.
career year
Yeah.
this year. I don't know if he'll ever have another.
And,
No,
like
and, and you got paid
But he-
$40 million over 2
Yeah.
years.
that may
because
be a
of this year.
mistake, though. That
I
may
think
be a
he should.
mistake.
Probably
Deserved
bad.
it.
And
Yeah.
don't look for the running back position to start suddenly getting bank all of a sudden, because the league still doesn't. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and the Jacobs kid with Green Bay.
Yeah.
Think about those three backs. Those are quality
They're the
backs.
they're
You got
exceptions.
like that Dobbs kid this year. They don't have the quality out there.
That's, I
So,
wish the Raiders paid Jacobs. I think
I
he's-
wish they.
that
I
was
thought
a
it was the
big mistake.
dumbest
I think
move
he's
they
one of the
made.
top- there's-
See, now you're going to have to take Genty possibly,
No,
or
I
some
don't-
other back
but
in
there's
the
so
draft.
many good running backs in this draft class.
Well, and that's another reason
Jacobs
to
was a
maybe
good player.
wait till late
He
second
had,
round.
he had a great underrated year for the Packers.
yeah,
he was
But
awesome.
Dart doesn't have the physical attributes, and he's played in a really simple offense. Now one other thing about this draft, just as his overview, all these guys, they all got the extra COVID year. We got guys with 5, 6, 7 years. They're going to be starters. They're going to come in and start and play and help your football team. And like I say, running backs, D-line, interior offensive linemen, tight end, and there's a couple corners in this league. Your team gets those type of players and needs those type of players, you're in pretty good shape. But as far as the quarterbacks and the offensive tackles, which most people, well, it's quarterback and
Who would
pass
you
rush.
say is the best offensive lineman? left
Kid
tackle?
out of Missouri, Mimbu's his name or whatever. I was worried about him, but he 6'4.5" at the combine. He's 334 pounds.
Who would you?
He can play tackle, guard. He's a good. He'll go over the kid Banks
Who
from
would you
Texas
say-
and the kid Campbell from LSU.
Who would you say the best tight end is?
That's kind of pick your flavor. If you want the so-called Gronk comparison, all-around guy that can block,
And
catch,
save.
do everything, it's the Warren. If you want the guy that's going to do a real good imitation of what the kid just did for the Raiders,
Yeah.
caught 100 whatever balls, Loveland's good. If Loveland's healthy, he's got the shoulder and he's got something else. And there are other tight ends. Tight end is a sneaky group. There was a kid from Oregon that I noticed at the combine, had a really good workout, ran well, looked good in the drills, caught the
Who
ball.
would you say is your top two receivers?
Well, I want to ask
Yeah.
him about the offensive lineman who I've seen climbing the pre-draft stock, the kid from North Dakota State.
Yes, well,
Oh yeah, I saw him too.
the
Yeah, that's a
the
good one.
beauty of him is all 5 positions.
Yeah.
But
Now-
can he play
Well,
in the NFL?
what they're going to do with him, well, first of all, it's obvious because let's say he never does become a starter. You just have a backup at all 5
I
positions.
know, but North Dakota State's not. It's not playing at major.
This is not the Saints took a kid a couple years ago.
I'm not
from
saying he
Northern
can't
Iowa
come from there,
that didn't
but
make it. This kid's going to make it.
Yeah, he's
If he
good.
doesn't start for you, he'll be a valuable backup. I think what's going to happen too is going to be a center or guard, and if he works out at center, he'll be a steal for somebody. He'll probably go in the first round just because
Yeah,
of
I think so,
versatility.
too.
He is a there's all kind. There's a kid from Georgia, Tate Rutledge, who's a guard. There's a kid from Oregon State. Now, if he can play center,
Yeah,
but
I've
he
seen
played
that
2-year
guy.
captain for Oregon State, a guard for them. They're trying him out at center. He's only about 6'3", 300 pounds. The interior offensive line. And then when you take Campbell and Banks and you kick those two guys inside, which is probably going to happen. There's 2 more quality guards.
what about Will Campbell at LSU?
I just said he's probably going to be kicked into guard.
He's not a tackle.
The short arm, you watch his tape, the SEC pass rush guys, I've even told you this, John Ross, you never want to let the guy get his hands in here.
Yeah,
See,
then
that's
it's
where I
over.
want my hands. I want my hands right in your chest.
Yeah.
And you want long arms. See, like I'm only 6 feet tall, but I got like 34-inch long arms.
What about the kid at Oregon?
Campbell's got 32-inch arms. This 6'6" man with 32-inch arms. I get in inside on him. He can't do
What about
anything
Connor?
against me. I got him.
What about Connerly at Oregon? Josh Connerly.
I love his feet. He's only about, well, I say only, he's 6'4", only about 300 pounds. He needs to get a lot stronger. There's some tape of him at the Senior Bowl. Mike Green, a pass rush guy from Marshall, who I love, just bull rushed him. And Mike Green's about the same size as Abdul Carter, 6'2", 250. He took the kid from Oregon, this Connor, and just killed him. He got his hands inside. I mean, it was embarrassing to see a kid. But the Oregon kid has wonderful feet. He does have long arms. Just needs to get a little bit stronger. I don't know how well coached those Oregon kids were. This is another thing about
Lanning just signed a big contract.
I know. This is another thing about the when I do the draft, though. I would love.
He doesn't
to
win
sit,
big games.
I would love to. I would love
Lanning
to
never
sit.
wins a
I
big
would
game.
love to sit in the room.
This year, though.
What's that?
I didn't like Oregon this year. I thought they were overrated.
I mean, they had. I mean,
I would love to sit in a room with
they were the only team that finished
Steve
the regular season.
Sarkisian, Dan Lanning, some of these coaches. You look at the Texas kids that I did see work out at the combine. I mean, they had the fastest receivers at the combine. They had a back, that blue kid. I already mentioned Banks that's going to go into the play guard tackle. Yeah. They had defenders, defensive linemen. One of the best defensive back I saw in the draft was this
from Texas
Jahidi Barron kid who ran a 4.39. How did they not win the national championship?
Well, with these
coaching,
with a lot of these players, it is true though. In college, a lot of these college coaches, you look at the talent. Like Michigan has like 4 of the top 10 players.
I also
they didn't play. They all didn't play. Will Johnson basically didn't play the whole year, but still, you look at the team. Texas is right there. They have the fastest corner, fastest receiver.
It's coaching, and I don't like Ewers.
Texas did not have a great quarterback.
Ewers was hurt all year.
They didn't have a great
He's another guy that's in the discussion with the quarterbacks. He's right there with Jackson.
He's underwhelming, though.
I go back to Ewers again. Because of him, I've got into looking at this high school tape. And so I saw Ewers when he was a supposed 5-star, #1 recruit in the country. And I don't see the hubbub.
No.
Small man, doesn't have a big arm, spread quarterback.
I think Arch is better.
People don't realize, you look at Tom, when you look at Tom Brady, and he is 6'5", but it's not like, he doesn't have huge muscles and he's not. That's a 6'5" man, though. So when
Tom
I see
18th pick by the Montreal Expos in the MLB draft,
when I see a 6-foot quarterback,
I mean, you make fun of a guy,
like
though, but a guy if he's a D1 player in football and he's drafted as a Major League Baseball player, that's impressive.
And Brady was not. He only went 18 because he was going to play football. The Expos said he would have been a first, second, third round pick.
Michigan had
he's a left-handed.
Michigan had 2 quarterbacks.
He hit for power
because they had Henson too. Yeah. That was like the greatest baseball player ever, and he was a football player.
And they got nothing.
They got nothing on him. Exactly. They did win 1 national championship.
And again, that's your coaching.
Yeah.
So, but when I say Shadir Sanders is 6'1", 195, Patrick Mahomes is 6'3", 230. That's 2 inches. That's 35 pounds. And Mahomes is kind of viewed small. I mean, he's not. You put him up against Josh Allen and. Some of these quarterbacks.
Fern, let me ask you, who do you want? I kind of want to ask because you're a Raiders fan, Billy's a Dolphins fan, Steelers. I'll ask each one of you, Fernando. Who do you want the Raiders? Who do you want them to pick? What do they have? The 9th pick?
6th
pick. Yeah. Who do you want the Raiders to pick at 6?
I would like them to trade back, and granted, I feel like how you said, a lot of teams want to trade back in this draft. But in a perfect situation, I would like to trade back and get Jackson Dart as a quarterback, sit him behind Geno for maybe a year or 2, and then.
But if you can't make a trade back,
but if I can't make it, that's tough, dude. I mean, I don't want to take Genty, that's for sure.
I think even if the Raiders trade back,
who would you take though? If you're in this, everyone makes fun of GMs. You're in the room, you got to make a pick. Who do you pick?
It depends who's available at that time. You know what I mean?
What position do you think the Raiders need?
We need corners. We need another defense.
Who are the top 5 picks?
I would like Jalen Walker if he's available. Or
he just got hurt.
Did he?
Yes.
I mean, I think
it's not considered serious. He's going to be at the Georgia. The Raiders need running backs, offensive line, D line, and corners.
Yeah, we need corners bad. So I would take that guy from Texas or Will Johnson.
So if you stay at 6. What you're probably going to do now. Remember, this is Pete Carroll.
The Ole Miss corner is good too.
Yes, the Amos kid. Yeah. Now, but Amos is not going to go in the first round.
No, he's not going to go.
Even though he may be better.
What's his height?
Is Jeremiah Love in this draft, or is he coming back to Notre Dame?
Isn't he a running back?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's in this
I
draft
think he's
or
coming
not.
back.
If he's,
Yeah, I don't think
Or
he's
is he a
done.
sophomore?
I think he's coming
I
back.
think he's coming
I haven't
back
heard him
anyway.
coming out. So
Yeah.
The one thing you said about the running backs, and I agree with
It's
you
a
on
lot.
Gente. You can't take
dime a
Gente
Doubles
dozen,
the
six.
ball.
two
They
nickels make
may
a
do
dime.
that though, as I've stated.
Pete Carroll.
Well,
He had
but
Reggie Bush,
if
Wendell
Pete
White.
Carroll looks at Gente and
Bull,
sees
bull.
beast mode, you got to take it. And I trust Pete Carroll, but I think if they stay,
I
at
will say
6,
that my dad's 100% right. I will trust Pete Carroll.
with backs.
He drafted a running back out of Michigan. The kid was terrible at Michigan. He transferred to Central Michigan and had a decent year.
No, he ran for over 1,000.
Pete Carroll
yards
took
or
him and got
something.
1,000 yards out of the guy. He can look at a back. You got to understand, he coached Reggie Bush
and Wendell White.
and Lendell
Yeah,
White. He
Lendell-
knows
no.
backs.
And Carroll, running backs and anything to do with the defense, I think what the Raiders will probably
Get a
do
corner.
is look at the Quinn. I think Will Johnson's in play there. I also think the Barron kid
Yeah.
is going to be in play there.
And I was impressed with what
He's a Pete Carroll type of guy.
Barron.
Well-
I thought Barron did a great job against Jeremiah Smith.
No. Barron,
in the
John
semifinal
Ross.
game.
you
He
look
shut
at-
him down.
Barron did a great
One
job
catch
against
for
a
4
lot of
yards.
people. Barron did a great job against, and the thing was, watching him play, it looked like he had problems with top end speed. The kid can run. He ran a 4.39.
Who do you want the Dolphins to?
There's no quarterback in this draft.
What pick
So
do the
we're-
Dolphins have? Are they
Yeah, but
later?
you got Tua.
You hate
No,
Tua.
but,
Tua.
but
You don't
until
like
no, I actually agree with you. But until you move from Tua,
Tua, Billy, you don't like Tua, but he's kind of like Geno Smith in the sense
I would
that
take Geno Smith over him in a heartbeat.
I would rather.
But-
I actually think McDaniel would take Geno Smith over.
But he's
in
at
that
least-
offense.
if he
Geno
had
would be
Tua
awful.
has put up numbers. He's not awful.
which
He
look,
can't play in the cold.
I have heard
I agree.
reports, Billy. McDaniel's is having problems with
Tyreek Hill.
no, but
No, Hill's
general,
going to be a Charger. Like
no,
Hill's gone.
but on a general, like the team is watching that. So there's now discipline concerns. Guys are showing up late for meetings. I'm not saying they're going to move on from McDaniel, but I do think the owner is taking a look at that whole situation. Whatever McDaniel's done in Miami, it hasn't worked.
It's a tear.
And you're right. They need to break from Tua, but I don't think Daniel wants to do it. And say he does, how are you going to do it?
But Bill, who do you
'Cause
want?
they're
Let's
locked
ask
into
you,
him.
who do you want in the draft?
They need everything. They need.
No,
What's the one player,
He's
though?
absolutely correct.
They need offensive line. They need defense. They need. I mean, let's.
I
start
was
all
They
over.
could get quarterback.
Every defensive
Would you take
position.
Cam Ward or Tua if you had a gun to your head next year?
I
who
mean,
would you
in
take?
Miami, you'll get probably a longer leash. I would take Cam Ward, but every team that needs a quarterback wants Cam Ward. Like Cam Ward's going to go number 1.
Yes.
Somebody's going to trade up.
You got no shot.
Yeah.
I understand.
For them, they probably should get some type of offensive line because they're building for the future because the quarterback isn't in this year's
And
Do you-
there's
draft.
all
do you need a
kinds of
receiver if you lose-
Where's
if you lose
where does Miami pick in the
Not in
first
the
round?
first round.
18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
They're later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these guards, tackle types that I've been talking about, like if they took the kid from North Dakota, that's not a bad,
not a bad
pick.
That's,
I mean,
they won't take him.
Center guard,
Miami's
back
not
up
gonna take
along
him.
the line. There's all kind. Now the pick, the kid is that kid out of Missouri, the Membo or whatever his name is. Yeah, Armand Membo. You know, if Miami could get him, but see, I have a feeling there's a shot New England takes him at 4. New England's either going to take him at 4, Campbell, or
You don't think they trade back? That's usually their MO.
what?
You don't think
Everyone
trades
wants
back?
to trade back.
But see,
now.
That's what
this-
Belichick-
everybody. Well, the way
No,
I
it's
am,
true.
in every draft, it's almost never a bad.
Let me
thing
just
to
ask this
trade
question. This is a college football. Do you guys think Bill Belichick will be successful in North Carolina?
No, I think he's trying to set up his son.
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. He knows football.
Yeah, I think that they'll be fine.
I have looked at it, and I think at best it's a 50-50
I-
proposition.
I think he's an unmitigated disaster.
It's,
think so,
there's
too.
a
I think he's
real
a disaster.
chance it goes bad there
I think they'll be like 500. Maybe,
Players are going to
7
go
5.
there just for him.
initially.
He's not
But this
fun
is
to
what
play for.
concerns me about Belichick, and I've looked at this ad nauseum because in my mind it was the biggest question I've ever had: was it Tom Brady or was it Bill Belichick?
Brady.
When you take Tom Brady and then in further studying it, also Bill Parcells, when you take those two men away from Bill Belichick, it's never worked.
It's
It
not
didn't
bad.
work in Cleveland. It didn't work in New England before Brady. It didn't work in New England after Brady.
Okay, my next pro to college guy, Matt Patricia. He's a defensive coordinator. At Ohio
Unmitigated
State.
disaster.
Okay, you got.
We've seen this
What do
movie
you think
before. Come on.
of Matt Patricia at Ohio State?
I'm not a big fan of him.
No, how could you be?
But,
know,
but
Matt.
then I don't like Ryan Day.
That's-
No, but they're
I don't
together.
like Ryan Day
I
either.
think Ryan Day.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Ryan Day hired Matt Patricia to get the stink off of him. So when they lose to
They could
Michigan
go
in,
to
in
Matt
8 months,
Patricia.
I don't.
it's going to
into-
go to Matt.
I think
Patricia.
Ryan Day hired Matt Patricia because Ryan Day doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
I agree.
And I've said that time and time again.
Because if he
Well, he's not going to
loses-
get fired. He won
Yeah,
the national
yeah,
championship.
but if he
which is
loses-
beautiful. It's great.
they're not going to promote the other guy behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He ain't it.
Well, Day has a 7-year contract. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Okay,
unless Ohio State.
Let's get back on the draft. Jesiah, who do you want? What
Steelers-
pick do the Steelers have?
21.
Okay, who do you want the
21.
Steelers to take?
Steelers need a defensive tackle and a receiver. I believe they're going to get the kid from Texas.
No quarterback.
Golden.
You wouldn't take Sanders if he fell? I
At
think
21, he's not dropping to 21.
He's not dropping.
I saw him go in second round.
Oh.
That's his
Sanders.
grade. That's his grade. He won't go in the
Yeah.
second round.
So,
But if he's there, you wouldn't take him at 21?
nah, no, Sanders at 21.
Should've-
I don't know.
Shiloh's not a
I'm
first
not a
round.
big,
draft.
I'm not a
No
big
way.
fan of
See, I
Sanders.
don't. I said this a lot. I still don't think Sanders. There's a real chance he doesn't get by the Raiders.
Yeah, so I'm not a big fan of Sanders personally. I guess they need it's not I guess. They do need a quarterback. Seems like they're going in on Justin Fields, which is what you guys have said.
Or Aaron Rodgers.
Um,
I think Golden is a good.
I
pick.
hope they don't get Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is cancer.
Golden?
He's done.
Golden runs
from
well.
Texas. That's who I think they're going to get in the first round. And the defensive tackle, they're going to probably get that in the second round, is my guess. That's every mock draft I've seen.
Other than Plaxico Burress and Lewis Lips, and if you're a Steelers fan, you know those two. Yeah,
Who the
you
hell
know
is
who Lewis Lips
I've
is?
never heard
No,
of
I
Lewis
haven't.
Lips. That's a
Those are
great
the
name.
only two receivers the
Yeah, they don't
Steelers have
draft
ever
like-
drafted in the first
They
round.
don't
of my
draft
lifetime.
wide receivers. They didn't draft
Now-
Will Swan in the first round?
Well, that's back in the
Well,
Brad
okay,
show.
They
No,
need
was
receivers.
Swanee a first
I
round?
think
I
they're
think-
done.
I think he was. The other guy was a
Stallworth
fourth. Stallworth was fourth rounder.
Yeah.
Steelers
And
are
Heinz
done.
Ward
Hall
was
of
a second
Famers,
rounder.
yeah.
Heinz Ward was
Steelers
a
are
second
done
rounder.
with the knucklehead though. They're done. They need a receiver.
No,
Wants to build
I
for the future.
no, I have it right here. Jesiah with the Steelers receiver.
there you go.
I
We're on the
understand
same
the need. And you said D line, interior D line. I get that too. Now I also would add they need a running back now that Najee Harris is. And I know you guys like the other guy.
Oh no, I don't like either of them. I think the running back
The
sucks.
Steelers will be looking for a back, and they have taken backs in the first round before. Harris was a first round pick, and the kid out of Illinois went in the first round. They may. I'll tell you, if Genty falls to 21,
They're gonna grab
you're
him.
getting Genty.
Yeah.
Now,
I
the
see
other
that.
thing they need is a corner opposite Joey Porter's boy,
Yeah.
who I love. Joey Porter Jr. is a great player, by the way.
Great corner. Yeah.
Second
Lions
team
should have
All
drafted
Pro.
him.
Phenomenal.
Lions blew that.
If Will Johnson is there, or this Barron kid falls there, you're gonna.
See,
I could see
it's
them
funny.
going with a corner.
I
So
always
the
say
Steelers
this-
are in a great place because, and even the Golden kid. I personally, full disclosure, I don't know as I'd ever take a receiver in the first round. I certainly wouldn't take
Well,
a high.
it-
21,
how you feel
21
about
is
receivers?
not too high though.
Yeah.
No,
Golden
that's
is
fine, that's
worthy
fair.
of that pick.
How you feel about receivers is how I feel about backs.
Oh
You
no,
can find a
running
back
backs the
anywhere.
same way.
You
But
can find a back
but the
anywhere. The
Steelers look
receiver,
at what
I
look
think-
at
Where
what
did
the
Randy
Steelers
Moss get drafted?
24. Look at what the
82nd.
Steelers have
Maybe
Maybe
done.
the greatest.
Receiver of all
And that's
time.
why I say
Steelers
21 is
pick.
not too high.
Yeah.
Jerry Rice went at 17, who is
Yeah.
the greatest receiver.
Now, Calvin
Belongs to
Johnson
number
went
two.
two.
Calvin went two, but
He's a Hall of
Calvin was
Famer.
special,
He's an
6'5",
exception,
235, 4'2", something, 40. The
I think
Steelers have
Rivers,
built
too,
their
is an exception.
offensive lineup. You have a young, and the one kid, the tackle that you took in the first round from
Yeah.
Washington, he'll be back.
And
He's
yeah,
going to
I
be good.
wanna ask
The
you-
center you got was good. You need him
This is
back, and they're going to want to run the ball if Fields is the quarterback. So I could, if the
That's
right
the
back
appeal.
is there, but again, Golden, and there's other receivers. The Burden kid from Missouri may
Trey
fall
Burden,
there,
yeah.
Yeah,
and the
I
kid
wanna-
from Arizona may fall there
we
too.
have a fan. He's a fan of the Giants. His name's Alex Rodriguez. What should? And I'm not making fun of the Giants. Who should the Giants draft with their pick?
Cam Ward.
That's really what the Giants should do.
Okay.
Is they should get, because going from 3 to 1, they maybe only have to give up a 1 and a 2 to go up there. That's a small move. See that Cleveland and the Giants, and they both need quarterbacks. And Cleveland just took Deshaun Watson's contract and pushed it back. I guess they're going to be suffering from that contract for the rest of the team's existence.
Okay.
But
Now,
they should
another-
go up and make a move to get Cam Ward
Another friend
for
of the
their
sh-
fan bases.
So Cam Ward. Okay. But who should they take for player? Player for
Well,
player.
if they stay where they're at, then what they're looking at is Shadir Sanders.
Every team's taking
Yard.
Sanders.
And you can't. And I just now what they should do, what Cleveland should do, if that's what happens. If everything stays there, Cleveland should take up Dual Carter and put him opposite Myles Garrett and have one of the best pass rush deals in the league. What the Giants should do.
Myles Garrett is out, isn't he?
He wants out, but Cleveland doesn't want to trade him.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen. You're right about that.
But I just saw the guy from the Bengals, the pass rush guy, the Lions.
They let him go. He's 30 years old.
He announced retirement.
No, the pass rush guy.
Yeah, I know. He's 30 years old. Trey
Hendricks, yeah.
He announced retirement, and then the Bengals said, all right, we'll trade you, and then now he's back.
Well, no, he did that as a ploy to get out so he could. But
he would be big next to Hutch, though.
It depends on, but if you got to give up 2-1 for him,
reasonable.
What is Cincinnati? Well, see, people need to understand this. Some of these trades that you see happen, the Bears just got Joe Thuney for what, 4th round draft pick from the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Joe Thuney's an all-pro guy.
Okay.
So you guys overvalue these players.
That's the draft. The Raiders just traded or signed for Geno Smith. They signed him?
Yeah, they traded a 3rd round pick.
3rd round pick,
okay,
which they got from the Jets.
So a 3rd round pick for Geno, a starting quarterback, to me, as a Las Vegas local, who they were going to start at quarterback? Aiden O'Connell?
The OC.
Yeah.
I would take Geno Smith.
Or you make a move for Sanders or Cam. The Raiders could trade up and take Cam Ward too. I don't think
I think Geno Smith at least gives you stability at the position. You know you can win with him. He's a starting average NFL player.
I don't know what the books are doing for the Raiders over under, but I would put it at about 6.5, 7.
Billy, what do you think?
Smith.
What do you think of Geno Smith?
I think it's a great upgrade. I wish he was my quarterback. I would take.
You would take him over Tua. What do you think, Fern?
You know what? At first, I didn't like it because the draft upcoming. I didn't know what we were going to do. But now, in hindsight, I think I'm pretty happy with it. Especially if we do draft a quarterback one, they sit him for a year.
It gives you something.
You saw what Atlanta did with
pressure. The pressure is off. If you don't like Shadir Sanders or Dart or whoever, we'll go with Geno. Like I say, Alex Smith was in Kansas City for 5 years.
Yeah.
And Geno, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it puts you in a position where you can relax. Another quarterback that's out there is also Sam Darnold. So Cousins, Darnold. No, I'm just telling you, these teams, when you're the Browns.
Yeah, you would take
or the Giants.
Yeah, you take Darnold.
There's also a chance Daniel Jones will be back on the market. This is why
he's in Minnesota, right?
What?
He's in Minnesota,
he is, but Minnesota could cut him. They could move on. He is set to be a free agent.
Yeah.
With Minnesota, see, this is why it was so big when Stafford came back to the Rams. Because once he did that, then Aaron Rodgers now is back out there again. But where's Aaron Rodgers going to go?
Let me ask you this, though, because that's a great segue there. Do you think Rodgers is done, or do you think he goes somewhere?
I think he's done.
I think he's done too.
And the reason I think he is because what team are you going to? Pittsburgh is a team. If he went to Pittsburgh with what they have already,
but he doesn't fit Pittsburgh at all. He's all drama.
I don't see are the Steelers going to pay? Now, let me say this. One of the things I found out, he was willing to go to the Rams for like $10 million a year. Which is about what the Steelers. If Rodgers thinks he can get a ring, I think he would do it. If I was Pittsburgh, I would give him a call. Because like I say, Pittsburgh's got an offensive line. They could get a receiver in the draft. They could get a back in the draft. They're good defensively. They do need interior help. They were having trouble with the run. And they need another corner. See, those are all things you could get. And you plug Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers would be an upgrade over Justin Fields. Most people would say
Russell
that.
Wilson.
Russ is done. Russ is another one.
Yeah, where does Russ go?
He may be done in the league.
Railbird Russ. Where's Railbird Russ go?
Railbird Russ may be railbirded right out of the league.
I know.
Because he's another one.
Railbird Russ.
Is McCarthy starting this year?
That's Minnesota. Now, currently, or the last time, this about a month ago, J.J. McCarthy weighed 172 pounds.
He'll get back on the juice, though.
So you get him off the juice, 2 surgeries, you got this 172-pound ragdoll that's going to be your starter. Now, having said that, O'Connell's done a great job there with Minnesota. I've seen them win games. What's that one kid, Dodd, the kid from Tennessee?
Dobbs.
Dobbs.
Yeah.
He's got talent.
Look at what Darnold threw for 35 touchdown passes and 14 picks. So O'Connell can take lemons
Dobbs is
and
a guy,
make lemonade out of them.
Dobbs is a guy I would have liked to see like the Raiders get.
Really?
Well,
the only problem I have with Geno is I don't want to pay him $40 to $50 million.
That's what a starting
and
quarterback
as a Raiders fan, I actually feel like the Raiders are in a much better place. you have somebody there
Of course, he's a
that
starting
is at
quarterback.
least
Yeah.
serviceable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
You know, if you forget Bowers can catch.
Yeah.
What the one
He
receiver we
caught
had
with no QB.
Nothing.
with
Smith's
Geno.
an upgrade.
Yeah, with
Geno's
the-
an upgrade,
yeah.
5%.
with the what's the other receiver that we got from the New England a couple years ago? He had over
Jacoby Myers.
yeah he had 30 over
Yeah.
1,000 yards. They need a back. The Raiders do need to run the ball. You mentioned Jackson Powers, the kid at left tackle is
Oh,
still
yeah.
serviceable. We need to get a couple offensive linemen. I actually thought Pierce did a pretty good job with the defense.
I
And
thought so,
remember,
too.
you're going to
And let
get
me-
the kid from
let me-
Miami, Christian Wilkins, who got hurt this
Yeah,
year.
he's
Going
gonna
to
be
be back
Let
next
me
year.
say this.
Crosby's signed. Coots, the other pass rush guy, is coming in.
I don't
Spillane,
know-
the linebacker. The Raiders, like I said, I say 6.5. It could be 7,
One-
7.5, but your division. Remember
It's
the
tough.
6 you have
Yeah,
to the other.
exactly.
Yeah,
They have the hardest
that's a
division in
problem.
football.
Yeah, that's what I
It's
say.
a
You know,
brutal-
good luck
brutal
with
division.
Mahomes and those guys
The
there. So,
Chargers and the
Now, I
Broncos.
saw we released our center today. Would you move Powers Johnson over to
well,
center?
he can do it, and this is the and
He
that's
played
all
center
all
at
these
Oregon.
interior offensive linemen that we've mentioned, and there are others. They all can play guard or center.
Yeah.
So when you have them, oh, we lost our center. Well, we'll
You
just
move
slide
Powers
him
Johnson
right on
to
over.
center.
You know, that's why Michigan's recruiting these guys that can only play center, and I kind of feel like that's a waste. Get a
Yeah.
guy that can
One
play
guy,
guard,
they can
center. No, they have two
And
guys.
he's the number one center in the nation.
They're good. They're good
It's
prospects,
like-
but they're only centers. So if the
Can't
kid
keep
if the
them
kid
around.
doesn't work out at center, what do you do with him? But if you got like this kid from North Dakota State,
He can
we can
move
try
around.
to tackle, guard, center. He's going to work out somewhere, and if he doesn't, he's a backup at all.
Yeah.
You only can have it's 7 or 8 offensive linemen
Yeah.
eligible for the game. You need guy. You need a
That's
Here's
Super
what
six
you're
versatile.
wrong about. Here's what you're wrong about, though, Dad. In college,
No, I know you have 100,
There's a million
whatever. Or no, actually now you only
No,
have
but-
your NIL. It's
but-
95 guys now.
No,
But you still, that's twice
it's
in NFL.
56
Yeah, I
in the
know, I know.
NFL.
It's twice
so
in
you can
NFL
get a guy.
roster. But it is.
And you bring in new guys.
That's
each
why
year.
I like Dart too, because Dart and Powers Johnson were center and quarterback all
Yeah,
throughout
no,
high
well,
school.
I don't like Dart in the first round. I think there's
No.
too much value there.
I agree.
And the Raiders need interior defensive line help. You take another pass rush guy, take a corner.
Yeah, corner
Even if they
first
take a
round.
back, that's another thing I believe about in the draft. I'm sitting here saying, you know, running backs, D line, O line, tight ends, corner, get guys at those positions because those are the good ones.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the people taking quarterbacks this year, people taking receivers this year, people taking offensive.
Should the Raiders get Adams back?
No.
I know. And he
Yeah.
he won't be back because he's too expensive. He's going to
You
go.
can get him on
He
cheap.
sucks
What
now.
what I would look for Devontae Adams is does Aaron Rodgers get a job somewhere?
Does that
And he'll bring-
Yeah.
I would think that would be. But Adams still has
I
value.
could be with the Steelers.
Adam-
That's
Adam-
their other receiver.
If the Steelers can
I
get
just-
him at the right price,
But yeah, I just can't see the Steelers making that move.
I don't either. He
Me
doesn't
either.
after the trouble
the
they've
Steelers
had
are
with their.
such a conservative franchise. I
But
just don't
keep
see
in
them-
mind, what was the receiver that Mike Tomlin covered for years?
Brown.
Antonio
Was AB Brown? Yeah, the
Antonio
Raiders.
Brown,
But
yeah.
they
Tomlin had
drafted
him
but,
for.
but they drafted Brown.
Now they developed him. You're right.
They didn't bring
But-
him in.
And
When they asked Mike Tomlin about Brown, he wouldn't even answer the question. He's not
well,
even talking
if you
about
haven't
it.
seen what, but
I know.
Fernando brought up a great point, and this is what I would tell fans of any team. Look at what your team does in free agency and trades, because it's probably going to tip you off where they're going in the draft.
Yeah, 100%.
The Raiders got a quarterback now. I don't think they're
Exactly.
good. I'm not saying they won't take somebody. Maybe they will. If Shadir Sanders is there, if you see a guy, Dart does fit Chip Kelly.
He does.
So if Chip Kelly tells
You're
me,
telling me
that
Chip Kelly didn't want to work for Ryan Day anymore?
the D coordinator. You want to work? You go work for Ryan. Tell you what, they'd have to pay me a hell of a lot of money to work for that
I
guy.
like Chip Kelly,
Listen,
though.
listen though. So Dart fits. If Chip Kelly's sitting there telling me,
This is my guy.
I think we can win a Super Bowl with Jackson Dart.
Then you
If
grab
I'm
him.
Spy Tech and Pete Carroll, I'm going to listen.
So let me
to
ask
him.
you this: Did Pete Carroll talk to Chip Kelly about Geno Smith? He had
Well, I'm
to.
sure he did.
Yeah.
Oh,
He had to.
you know, people make fun of Geno Smith. I think
No, I
he
don't
can
make fun
work
of
with Geno Smith. I know he does. I understand Fernando not being excited because we're not winning a Super Bowl. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
Geno
true.
Smith's not, but he's serviceable. Kirk Cousins, I'm telling you, Kirk Cousins is going to have a job. Don't be
Where does Cousins
surprised.
go?
Cleveland Browns. He worked with Stefanski
did.
before. The minute that the Falcons, they're not going to admit they want to cut him because they want to get a draft pick for him.
Yeah.
They've already given him $100 million or whatever it is to do nothing, so they want to save face. But the minute he's free, and guess what? The Browns are going to get him for the league minimum because the Falcons are on the hook. They're going to get Cousins like the Steelers got Fields.
Would Minnesota ever take Cousins back?
No. Minnesota is in the McCarthy boat
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Whether it's this year, next year,
They're going to give him.
and
a
I
shot.
actually think O'Connell, and him and Sean McVay are my two favorite coaches because a lot of coaches, well, if we don't have the quarterback, we got a problem here. That's not what McVay and O'Connell do. Who do I have?
Yeah,
Who do I have to play quarterback right now? Sean McVay was ready to move on from Matthew Stafford. You know what? That whole thing what flipped with Stafford was he went to the Giants. He looked at these teams, the Raiders, win. I can win a Super Bowl with the Rams. And all of a sudden, he was much more comfortable taking a shorter deal for less money for the opportunity to win. So I give Stafford credit for seeing that.
All right, Dan, let's wrap this up. We'll do another NFL show for sure prior to the draft, the actual draft. When is the actual NFL draft?
April.
24, 26,
So we have some time.
26 April.
So I want you, as our special guest. Obviously, we're Lions and Raider fans. Billy's a Dolphins fan. Josiah's a Steelers fan. If you were the GM of those franchises, who would
we did address the Raiders and the Dolphins kind of
And the Steelers.
and the Steelers.
Okay, so let's say the Lions. Who should the Lions draft, and what do the Lions need to do to kind of maintain this dominance of the North?
Okay, their positions of need are offensive line, particularly the interior.
Yeah.
Skipper?
They need
And Skipper.
anything on the D line, particularly pass rush, edge, but they need interior defenders as well. Remember, McNeil's
Okay,
got
so
the
the Lions have the 29th pick or 30th.
and they also need corners.
So
They could get that guy from Ole Miss.
They could. Well,
Who would
this is a great draft.
who would you
for the
take?
Lions,
And I
where
would tell
they-
you who I would want.
because they have all kinds of options. I mean, if you just
So
depending-
you're Brad Holmes. You're next
okay.
to
We
Sheila
mentioned the
Ford
Mike
Ham.
Green kid. If
Who you
he's-
taking? Who you
Mike
taking?
Green, if he's there. The kid from Boston College. These are both pass rush
Okay.
guys. If they're there, Pierce from Tennessee. If he falls, he's a pass rush. I think pass rush is their number one need.
I agree.
So if there's a guy there, I'll give you another guy that's off the wall, and I don't know is necessarily. I would take him there. The Lions won't do it, but that Josiah
I was
Stewart
going to say
kid
that's
from
what I would
Michigan.
take. Is just
And the
Stewart.
reason I say that because
If-
the Lions run a unique defense. The one edge defender that they have is really a strong side linebacker, a Sam.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Stewart can do that.
does
So
that,
can
yeah.
the kid from Boston College. They could be brothers.
Well, now if Grant fell to there, would you take him?
He'll be there. They have a need there. McNeil's got the knee problem, and Reeder's well into his 30s. They don't have anybody else. The project they took, Broderick Martin from Western
Now,
Kentucky,
this is
has
a-
been a disaster.
This is
So
another.
they need, if Grant's there, it wouldn't be a bad
To
pick.
be fair and balanced on this show, and it's the no spin zone. Who would you for the Chiefs? Who should the Chiefs draft?
Well, the Chiefs, the biggest need on the Chiefs is offensive tackle. And as I've already stated, they're in kind of a bad way. I mean, there really isn't a kid. I mentioned the kid from Missouri, Membu. He's gone. Membu ain't getting past
Yeah.
15. Somebody's going to take him. And even Campbell. Now, here's something that the Chiefs want to think about, and you're a Michigan fan, so you won't like this. The kid at Ohio State, the left tackle with the
Is he
horrible
recovered from
knee,
his? Yeah.
there's good reports on the knee injury. His
You
tape
take
is
him
good.
the second to last pick of the first round.
Do I like taking a first round kid with a knee
I
injury?
hate
No, but the need is there for the Chiefs. And the kid, if he didn't have the knee, he would be the top left tackle prospect
So
in
that's
this
something.
draft. So
Yeah.
to get him at 31, there's value there. Now, what I have heard the Chiefs are going to do, I've heard this as a possibility. I've heard they're going to go after Ronnie Stanley from the Ravens
Stanley.
really
Who-
hard, the left
who-
tackle. And if they do
Okay,
that in free agency,
So the Chiefs, and I agree with you.
then you could take
I think
tackle out of it.
I think it's obvious too from watching
So-
the game. The Chiefs need to draft an offensive
Okay,
lineman.
so if we
Now,
take
now for the Eagles to repeat, what do they need to do?
well, the Eagles are in a beautiful position. They
But what
can
do they
take,
have-
they can take anything they want in this draft.
Who would be a
If
player
there's a
there?
pass rush guy, any of the pass rush guys. Oh, there's a
Best
kid
guy
from
available.
there's a kid from Penn State or Purdue, Scourton is his name. I wish the guy the Chiefs have now from Purdue.
Karlaftis.
Yes.
Yeah.
This kid is actually better than Karloftis was. Now he played at Texas A&M last year in the SEC. This kid can play. I was surprised. Purdue's got a couple players. They have an interior offensive lineman, right tackle guy that would be. See, Kansas City could take that kid from Purdue.
So
the
I
right
actually
tackle.
think the Eagles are going to get a corner because they just really slay.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Slay's
but they have
done.
two corners.
Hold on, though. You have Mitchell and you have
Dijon.
the Super Bowl
Cooper
pick
Dijon,
six
yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
They went ahead. See, they got it a
But
year
I think they're going
early.
to get another one.
Well, you always need corners. And now with Pittsburgh, there's a kid. You mentioned the Amos kid from Ole Miss. If he's there, do you go ahead and take him? I don't think they will because they took the 2 high picks last year.
Yeah.
There's also a corner from Florida State. I was big on him watching his tape, but boy, at the combine, God, he was terrible. The
What
drills.
about Malachi Starks from Georgia?
He had a really good combine
Yeah.
safety. The Eagles aren't hurting in the secondary. Where the Eagles, believe it or not, they need interior defensive line help. They're going to
Yeah,
lose.
true.
They're going to lose Marvin Williams in free agency. They need pass rush. I know how their pass
Yeah.
rush killed the Chiefs.
We're losing Brandon
But
Graham. He's
Graham's retiring, and Josh Sweat's a free agent. They're going to lose him.
By the way, let's give a shout out to Brandon Graham. He played in the NFL for how many years?
Oh, close to 20.
What pick was he?
16, 17,
And who
18.
drafted him? Andy Reid.
Andy
He's a
Reid.
great football player.
Graham is
Andy Reid
should
drafted
be
a
a Hall
guy
of Fame
that beat him.
candidate. I don't think he'll get in. I don't think
He's
he'll
not
get
many
in.
of them left.
I know,
Graham is
20
a
years
Hall of Fame.
It's a great pick.
But also the Eagles
He's from
need
Detroit,
interior
South-
offensive
Southeastern.
line help because Mikey Becton, the right guard. So they're losing guys. They could use a linebacker. The kid they took out of Georgia a couple years ago got hurt. And Braun. Now they signed
they just
Braun.
re-signed
I don't
Braun.
think they're going to take corner or linebacker just because of what they drafted last year with the corners and then who they just signed. But it's a great draft.
I mean, the
for them.
Eagles-
There's going to be a lot of
When
good football
the
players.
Eagles they're in a great spot. Whoever is there, that they can
Yes,
play
player
people
available.
say that, but this is something I've
But
already started.
it's not a
taking
great
look
draft,
at.
though.
I'll say this right now: I don't think the
This-
Eagles are going to win the Super
They
Bowl.
could draft
No,
that kid
I don't
from,
see it happening.
from Penn State.
I still am not big
Well, I mean,
on Hurts.
I thought Barkley had a great season.
He did.
He's probably not going to replicate that.
If you can get this bet at DraftKings or wherever, bet on Saquon Barkley to get hurt sometime. If you can get that pick, if you can get that, if you can, you get what do they give you on that?
He has blown his
1,000 to
He
1.
tore his ACL
He
with the
did it
Giants.
before.
Oh no, he's been
Now,
hurt
one thing about Barkley,
everywhere. He's been
one
hurt.
thing about Barkley that I saw this on I think it was Instagram. His dad would have him fight people in the street
Yeah,
as a
no,
kid
he's-
to tough
Bar-
him up.
Barkley
Oh my
impressed
God.
the hell
He's
out
a
of
tough
me
guy.
this
So
last- Listen,
I can't. I will
listen,
never
John
count
Ross,
Saquon
the guy
Barkley
just
out.
had his greatest year as a running back, maybe one of the greatest of all time.
One of the greatest, yeah.
And he's been in the league 8 years. Normally, at his age,
don't do that,
28,
You
and he
decline,
just
yeah.
took off. Now the Eagles have a great offensive line,
Yeah.
so I would look for Eagles to go
Great
O
offensive
line,
line,
D
great
line.
RPO. They have great receivers.
Would
They're
you
the full
draft that kid
package
from
offensively.
Penn State, the tight end?
What?
Would you draft the tight end from Penn State?
Warren,
I
see, I
have
don't think he's Gronk.
he's not Gronk. I can tell you
Gronk
that.
is one of one.
Yeah, that's-
Warren's he's a great all around tight end, but he's not like Loveland will have the explosives. Loveland can catch a 55-yard pass.
I do
so-
believe
I
Warren's
don't think
going to go
Warren's
with
gonna
the
do
top 15.
But Warren's a
picks.
better blocker than Loveland, and he hasn't been hurt.
I
So,
actually think Loveland's going to go in the top 15.
I like
picks,
them
too.
both, honestly.
And the reason is because of what the Bowers kid
Yeah,
did.
they line
with
him
the-
up as a slot
Yeah.
sometimes.
I can tell you this
Also,
much.
one thing for Loveland, how well it's kind of like what Bowers did with the Raiders. The fact that he produced so well with those Michigan quarterbacks
Yeah,
is
no,
impressive.
no, it's huge.
There was a terrible
What do you
group.
think? What do you think of Orgy going to UNLV?
Who now?
Or Alex Orji, he's the UNLV quarterback.
Oh, that's right. Well, he's not a quarterback though.
I'll be
Maybe
rooting
they'll
for him,
put.
though.
Well, they
I'll be
have.
rooting for him.
This is a
big time.
different coach, but remember the kid that left because he didn't get the 100
Yeah,
grand.
so
Yeah.
All he could do was run. That's all he was.
This guy's
And
probably a better runner.
He may be. I don't know if that's what this new.
I'm just
He
saying.
looks like the bigger guy. I don't know how.
No,
Alex
he
Orji's
has
6'3",
size.
250.
He's a guy that
Yeah, the
should have
other guy,
switched
I
to
don't know how
running
big he
back.
was.
Alex Orji in the Mountain West he is going to be a
Kid,
load.
bro.
People are going to. I mean, he's going to kill people. Now he can't throw at all.
No.
At all.
But there is on this draft.
From what I saw,
there's a lot of good football players. There'll be starters. They're going to help your team. There'll be depth. I just don't know
Well, the
there's a
perfect
guy
way I
that's
would-
going to transform.
the perfect way
you.
I would sum up
There's
this
no
draft.
Jalen Daniels
When I was
coming
a-
through
No.
in this draft.
This is not exactly. This is
Next
not a
year's
draft.
quarterback draft. is
Whenever an
good.
NFL draft is missing that surefire #1 quarterback, you get this type
I
of
did
draft.
wanna
There's
get-
no Peyton Manning. There's no
I
Cam
did
Newton
want
in
to
this
get this
draft.
comment in because this could happen in this draft, depending on how it goes. There's a couple years ago when Jameis Winston went, and what was the kid from Oregon, the quarterback, Chip Kelly's
Mariota.
Heisman?
Mariota.
Mariota. They went 1 and 2, and all I heard was these guys were going to transform the league, and you see,
It's kind of like that.
and I do.
Similar
I'm not saying Cam Ward's going to be
Speaking
Jameis
of Oregon,
Winston. I actually think
Speaking of Oregon, can Dylan Gabriel?
They are
Where
both
do
in the
you
league
put him?
still.
No, he's
John
not,
Ross is 5'11".
he's not draftable. Dude.
He's not
Well,
draftable?
it wouldn't shock me 7th round, something like
Yeah.
that. But you're probably right. It's probably a free agent type of deal. A smart kid generally takes care of the ball, pretty
Slow
good
arm.
athlete. But you have how many
I think
5'11"
that's Dan Lanning's
quarterbacks have there
offense,
been in the
though.
NFL? I mean, Russell Wilson. You get
Yeah.
past him, and I don't think the kid has the arm. People
No.
forget Russell Wilson had a gun, who still does have a pretty good
I
arm.
think
Actually.
Dan
He
Lanning's
really does.
offense
Yeah,
made him
so,
look
yeah.
better.
So you look at these guys. My whole take this past
He
year
made it.
was
He's a bum. Keep going.
my whole take this past year in college football. I was very disappointed in the quality of the play that I saw. I thought the SEC was down.
I agree.
I've never, other than Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten, I never read. I know people want to talk about Penn State, and
Yeah, and
Oregon, but
let me say this: everybody's saying the Big Ten's back on top. First of all, besides Michigan, Ohio State, no team from the Big Ten has won a national championship.
But that is the Big Ten.
But I agree.
That's what I
But
just said.
I think Ohio State has
when James Franklin
in the
does it.
last 50 years, Ohio State has 3 titles and Michigan has 2.
Well, I
So-
will say that if his best chance is this upcoming year.
Who, Franklin?
Yeah.
Well, right now, some of the NFL people I follow, they have Drew Aller as a possible #1 pick in the draft. I don't have that at this
That's
point.
why.
Now we'll have to see how the kid plays. They have both running backs back, okay, but they lost a lot defensively. Carter's gone. They lost a safety who's a
Warren.
good football player. Yeah, Warren, the tight end's gone. They weren't any good at receiver this year. I don't understand how they're going to get better. And I just don't have any faith in James Franklin.
Let's throw another log on the fire for James Franklin. He had Saquon Barkley and couldn't win the Big Ten.
No.
And I
See,
watched that game.
I tell you,
I watched
Their
Penn
home
State in 2016.
Franklin's
They
a
came to
bona
Ann
fide
Arbor.
loser.
We stopped Barkley. We shut them down. And I'm watching the game. I'm like, how is this even possible?
We're talking about Oregon, and you mentioned the offensive tackle. They have a D tackle. They have a edge guy, a DN. They have a receiver.
And you're saying their quarterback's going to go in the first round next year.
Yeah, and they got Oregon has guys all over the place. I'm talking about Oregon too.
Tess Johnson.
Yeah, you're talking Penn
They
State.
go Penn State.
Yeah, but what did Lanning do? How do you show up against Ohio State and you don't even compete
Yeah, it was
in the
bad.
game?
It's crazy.
Oregon's going to have first-round draft picks.
Where's Tess Johnson going?
Who?
Tess Johnson, the receiver.
Yeah, the test. Well, now here's 155 pounds.
Yeah, he's so light. He's
I
so
thought
small.
I was shocked when I saw that's one of the lightest players I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me. Of,
Oh, that-
he
But
reminds
he
me-
has like 20 touchdowns. The
He
last
reminds me of like Henry Ruggs, kind of at
Hey,
Bama.
Ruggs is bigger than that, though. Henry Ruggs is bigger than that.
100 for 155
He's
pounds.
light,
Yeah.
dude. He's
I
yeah.
No.
weighed that in like 9th grade.
That you figure
He
you'd
might go to
figure
Denver, dude.
you'd figure they'll figure out a way to get some weight on him. But that was a real shocker.
I mean, he is an outside speed guy.
Well, but that's another thing. He's
Okay,
more of a
let's-
slot guy.
Here's a comp though. Worthy with the Chiefs. How much did he weigh?
No, Worthy's 165
Okay,
pounds.
so and he was effective.
Yeah, but
Let me say this: the Chiefs got killed in the Super Bowl, but they did have
Worthy
the,
had a good game.
they had the prettiest play of the game. That touchdown pass to Worthy in Mahomes, that was a great play.
That one was good. Also, the one to what was it? The Alabama kid off the play action
Yeah.
the Eagles did was nice too.
Yeah, to
All right,
Devontae
guys,
Smith.
Yeah,
so
Devontae
the
that's
Chiefs corner was like a split second
That-
late knocking the ball.
yeah, that's going to wrap up our NFL show. Well, we will definitely touch back on the NFL. Obviously, if there's anything
Well,
that
all
happens,
this, there's injuries. Like I told you, Carter's
we're-
got an
there's
injury. The
updates
Walker
every-
kid from Georgia,
but definitely for the draft, we'll do
and
a draft
pro
show.
days. Pro days.
And pro days are big too.
Yeah.
But I just this is our NFL analysis of the combine. My name's John.
I'm Jesiah.
Billy,
Fernando.
Ross.
We'll see you guys next week. Remember to like, subscribe, comment. Thanks.